Probably the most famous bodyguard in the UK at the moment.
I know about slapping people. That's what I know about. Slapping people and arguing with people.
And you slap them well, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And you kick them in the liver well, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. I've been kicked out of every school that I've ever been to. So I got expelled from boarding school.
What for?
I threatened to kill my headmaster's wife. When I was about 15, 16, I got beaten up outside this mosque in Ashton. I was actually kidnapped. They had a gun to my head in the woods, looking for my friend to try and kill him, basically. So they were trying to torture me for information, stabbed me in my arse, twice in my butt cheek, and then twice next to my butthole. I think I'm the only person that's been stabbed in the anus before.
Guns N' Roses or Iron Maiden? Hip to be Square or Sudio? Willy Wonka or The Never-Ending Story? Do you think the erosion of the UK has been done by design?
It can't be because they need workers, because these people are just not working, are they? We're bringing them over here to sit around and smoke cigarettes outside hotels. I'd be like, shh, don't say anything or they're going to stop all the money. But instead they're like, ha ha ha, fuck you, England. Knowing is not enough. You've got to apply. You have to deal with the biggest problem first. If the hands are around your throat, the first thing you deal with is the hands that are around your throat. Send all these people home, legal and illegal. I don't think Reform are going to do that. They're too busy doing a purity spiral.
Any situations that made you think, fuck? I want to say a quick thank you to our sponsors, Gold Seal. I use their products every single day, and now I finally get to work with them. I use their products for anti-inflammatory, reduced anxiety, better sleep, and mental clarity. I'm going to put a link to their website in the description, along with a 10% discount code for you to take advantage of. Go and have a look at their website, see if there's anything in there for you. I hope you enjoy this week's episode, and good health. Fred.
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We rearranged a few times, but we're here now.
Well, you're a busy man, and we'll cover the work that you do and why you're so busy and why you're so popular. You're probably the most famous bodyguard in the UK at the moment. So that's what we'll start with.
Yeah.
How did you become Charlie Veitch's personal bodyguard?
I used to work as a charity mugger, like a charity fundraiser. And so at various different times, because he goes he used to live in Salford and around Manchester. So I'd see him out and about while I'd be working sometimes. And then I ended up working at this jewellery store called Boodles. And then at the time, I was waging like a sticker campaign with like anti-socialist, anti-communist action things. I was putting them up around the town centre. And then so he'd come round. He makes friends with all the security guards in Manchester because he's always about town filming and naturally comes into contact with them. So I started showing him, and then we started laughing at it. I saw him walking down the street outside my work just before we had another lockdown, watching Alex Jones on his phone. I was like, oh yeah, how's it going? And we naturally got working like that. We found out we had a lot in common, and so we ended up going out just for fun. And then it became apparent that I'm like doing a job because he gets attacked all the time, constantly harassed. Especially in Manchester, he can't stand still for more than a few minutes without multiple people turning into a crowd around him and someone going, Charlie Veitch, and then someone walking up to him and trying to shake his hand. Most people are friendly, but it becomes a job because he can't live a normal life, a normal peaceful life in Manchester without someone there to make sure,
The viral slap, in fact, there's been a few viral clips of you. There's been a viral elbow.
Yeah.
There's been a kick-slap combo. I think that's probably people's favourite. It'd be interesting to know what people's favourite viral moment of yours is. There's been a few.
I actually don't twat people every single time I make a video, just putting that out.
For the record.
Yeah, for the record, Your Honour. Yeah.
For the record, I'm a nice guy doing it in defence.
It really is, though.
So talk me through the first time that you had to react violently. There was a guy that I saw. He approached you, you warned him, you put him on his arse.
Yeah.
You'll tell me his name because I forgot. And he keeps sort of coming back for more on
We call him Elbow Boy.
Elbow Boy.
Elbow Boy, that's right, yeah. I've talked to multiple different North Africans and no one wants to claim him. Every Egyptian says he's Moroccan, and every Moroccan says he's Algerian, and every Algerian says he's Tunisian. So no one wants to claim him. But I've got it on good authority that he's Egyptian, I think. I think so. But I moved him on. And then he decided to come back because he felt himself to be dishonoured and started saying, Sipia, Sipia, and which apparently in Maghrebi means like, my dick, or whatever. And then started walking over to me with this like, weird, crazy look in his eye. And so I just bashed him one time. And but, if there's another video out there of actually stabbing someone, if you look on Mad Manny's Instagram channel, there's a clip of him actually stabbing someone for real on his Instagram. There were about 5 lads that were chasing him around,
right.
And he was sort of getting them to stay back. He had this tiny little knife on it, but one lad comes too close and he just jibs him in the chest like that. And the other guy, he walks around and he's like, "Whoa, there's actually happened to me. I've actually got, but it's hard to see, but they all do this type of thing. Even when he swung back at me, he swung back as his natural response was as if he had a blade on him. That's what he did. So
that's worrying to think that week in, week out, you're going up against people that are armed to the teeth with blades.
Yeah.
Because you are a contender to end up getting stabbed, didn't you?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Bothered?
It's a weird one. I think I think if you carry a blade out and about on people guys, you're that kind of guy, you're often not the most confident of people in the first place. So with psychological tricks, a lot of the time, like I try and make eye contact with everyone that I see, and just let them know that I've clocked them. Basically, as most people are looking for an opportunity to do something like that, and if the opportunity arises, but they're quite emotional people as well at the same time. So they're not like the type to sit around and meticulously plan out a murder and say, I'm going to get him at this particular time in this particular place, in which case there's nothing I could do about that, but I would never see that coming. But all these people who are, young men who are very easily wound up and whatever, you can predict how their behavior is going to be. And when you've worked doors for as long as I have, you just know how to operate in a crowd. So I'm not saying that I'm invulnerable. I just think that I've got a reasonably good grasp on when I'm in danger and when I'm not in danger.
Yeah, it seems like when you correct these gentlemen for their ill behaviour, they walk away with a very different energy. The kick-slap combo, for example, that's had millions of views.
Yeah.
He come up full of energy, went in his pocket.
Yeah.
You can't take the risk. Chances are he could be pulling a blade out.
Yeah.
You put him on his arse.
Yeah.
And then he lost his energy. Was it edited that way, or did he genuinely think, that's enough for me?
If you ever received a kick to the liver, I'm not saying that I specifically target him in the liver. I tried to kick him wherever I could get him in his body, and it happened to be in a vulnerable part in your ribs like that, and it tends to disable you. I think punching someone in the face a lot of the time, it might even spur them on, and if you don't knock them out. But when you get kicked somewhere like in your organs or in your leg, it sort of demoralizes you. A lot of people don't know how to take that sort of thing. Like if you feel like your liver hurting, that's a new sensation. If you've not trained in martial arts before, or kickboxing or boxing, you're not used to that type of a sensation. So it becomes like I was previously feeling confident, and now like someone else is taking control of my body, and so I'm not really up for it anymore. So no, we didn't edit it like that. We just got off as soon as we could. Because I'm not there to go and find out what he's going to do after he gets back up and whatever. I don't think I could have. He might have been faster than me. In terms of if I ran away or something like that. So I'm not going to risk turning my back on him, especially as, hiding his identity for a reason, which is he doesn't want people to know who he is when he does something that's bad. So I'm not going to, so I just thought, well, I'll just bash him quickly. And then while he's on the floor rolling around, I'll just get off. And that's what we did.
Yeah, you certainly took the wind out of his sails.
Yeah.
The police, see, I always wonder how the police will take to your line of defence. And also, there's so many people running around Manchester in full face coverings. I mean, not just burkas, but like actual roadmen, gangsters,
that's the fashion,
bad boys, whatever you want to call them, complete face coverings. And for the record, they should be banned. But what do the police do about? What do the police do about you? And what's your relationship with the police? And why do you think they allow these men to walk around masked in Manchester, knowing that they're wearing that to commit a crime and not be identified? Because you must talk to them.
There's a few questions there. Most police, especially GMP, have had almost entirely positive interactions with them because they're forced to deal with the antisocial behaviour, and they don't have the resources to put everybody away for a crime like masking up. Being masked is not the most serious of crimes, but it used to be when I was younger, if you were in a balaclava, you were about to rob a post office, and now it means I'm catching the bus. So you just don't have the facilities to lock everybody up and imprison everybody for that as an offence. And if you were to do that, you'd also have to apply it equally to people who are wearing the full face veil and hijabs, etc. So it becomes a political hot topic, so I think that they can just avoid by not doing anything about it, really. So, most police and the rank and file police are broadly, they're normal people just like ourselves. I think as you go further up the police ladder, you get promoted for ratting each other out or for making an offensive joke or whatever, so they know they can trust you. So the further you go up the police ladder, the more political it gets. But the average officer on the street is just forced to deal with everyday criminals and would love to boot them in the ribs, and that's that, but they can't. So I
was going to say, the police who are boots on the deck that see you kicking people in the liver, they're probably quite envious.
I've had fist bumps, I've had handshakes, whatever, just on the sly when the camera's been turned off, and So that's nice of the police, I think.
And you're always heavily outnumbered. Is there any fear in you for one day that it may get ugly?
If it got bad enough that I feared, I wouldn't be there. So I'd extract myself from that situation if I thought that I couldn't handle it. But I'm just used to being attacked. Because I used to be a young kid into metal and rock music and whatever. And I used to get randomly hit at the bus stop for having long hair. They'd be like, "Oh, you a boy or a girl?" And then fucking hit me. And I've been ganged up on my entire life, really. So it's just par for the course as far as I'm concerned. I've always been attacked by multiple groups of people, and it's just become something that I'm desensitized to. So the stress doesn't really affect me in that way. And I think a lot of people, even when they're in a group, they're psyching themselves up to do something because they're not used to just deciding to attack you or not. So when they come across you and you're calm enough that where you're not bothered about what's happening, it puts them off at ease. Really, like, why isn't this guy? Because usually when they turn up with a few lads giving it the big, and then they expect you to be like, "Oh, sorry," And when you're not like that, and you're making eye contact with everybody, and you're treating them just like I'm talking to you right now, they're like, They don't see the opportunity to do what they want to do.
Yeah, they can't smell the fear because there is none.
Yeah, exactly.
So you got into martial arts because you were very hard to imagine anybody picking on you.
Yeah.
Yeah, martial arts. So what, you were just sick and tired of people picking on you and thought enough's enough?
No.
How did you fall into martial arts?
I was into Power Rangers when I was a kid. Go Power Rangers.
New Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Yeah, which also has a metal theme song. So it's also the same way they got into metal. So it's like, that's and with the, yeah. So I was like, yeah, spin kicks and metal and stuff. That's what I was into. So I was always into the idea of doing spinning kicks and being like, "Ay-ya!" And, that's what I was into, Kung Fu movies. And then when I was so I've always done traditional martial arts, taekwondo and Hung Gar, Kung Fu and other, just whatever I could get my hands on, wherever I was living at the time. And then when I was about 15, 16, I got beaten up outside this mosque in Ashton. And I remember Pirates of the Caribbean 2 had just come out. We just watched it. And I was with two of my friends. I went past this mosque. And this kid said something to me. And I've no idea what he said. To this day, I don't know what he said. So I said, "What? What did you say?" And then because I said "what," they were like, "What do you mean what?" And then they all decided to jump me. And I remember one of them had fish hooked me, and my face was all scratched up on the concrete outside, whatever. And I phoned the police, and the police did absolutely nothing. Obviously, they didn't even turn up. And from then on, I was like, that's not happening to me ever again, really. So then I got more and more into mixed martial arts, and I used to train at this place called Manchester Ground and Pound, and that was that, really. That's why I got as much into it as I would. It became like I can't ever get beaten up like that ever again, and I haven't.
Well, you're well respected and well established within the fighting community, because obviously it's my job to pay attention when I'm looking at potential guests and people that I find extremely interesting.
Yeah.
And then I read the comments. So I've seen a lot of people that have trained with you that know you from back in the day or even currently now, and they speak very well of you. Why do people speak so well of you? What are your principles and morals? What are your beliefs? What do you stand for?
What do I stand for?
As a man.
Saying whatever you want without fear of consequence, treating people appropriately, and not acting like you're too good for anyone, or whatever. I think martial arts humbles you in that sort of way, and so approaching things with a genuine want to learn, and really, really actually when I talk to a lot of people. Obviously, we're in a podcast now. You're here to listen to what I've got to say, but most of the time when I talk to people, while I can go off on one, I'll spend a lot of time asking people questions because I'm genuinely interested in understanding how other people think. So I think that's what people like about me, and I come at it with a genuine attitude where I'm not trying to I don't feel the need to try and make myself look better than you or to try and appear more successful than someone or whatever. I just approach people in a spirit of genuineness. That's what I try
decency.
and do. Yeah, decency. I try and take everybody as they come and act to people appropriately. But what is a man is a very deep question. I probably need to think about some more.
No, and I totally agree, because I think people have forgotten what it takes to be a man these days. I think they're so emasculated and deflated, and they've had the confidence battered out of them, whether it's stress, pressure, I don't know. But I see a lot of men that are beat at the moment. I look a lot of people in the eye like you do, because I want to sort of see into their soul.
Yeah.
And so when I see men like you that you showcase strength quite comfortably, unapologetically,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people will agree in the comments, the UK needs more men like you that stand up, don't apologise, don't explain why you're standing up, you just stand up because you know what's right. it's like a warrior class that needs to come back into society. Don't bully, don't be unkind, but you can be kind and strong at the same time. And I sort of sense that from you.
Well, I think if you've got a little bit of autism, right, it stops you being able to understand why people are offended. And as you get older, through maturity, you end up learning why people are. But it provides you with the ability to say anything you want, you know. So you don't have to pass things through the filter of, is it socially acceptable for me to think or say this, even if I'm wrong, you know. There was an experiment in the 50s called the Ash experiment, and they had a classroom full of actors, and they had one test subject would come in, and they would have 4 lines on the board in front of them, and they would tell the subject that all the lines are different length, etc. And everybody in the class would agree with it, and they'd go, "Yeah, no, they are," and they could convince you that 2 + 2 = 5, or even though the lines are clearly the same size, that they're different, etc. Based on what's socially acceptable to think. And as soon then with that, when they started to introduce various actors that would then say no, they would go against the line, it provides other people with the courage to stand up and say what the truth is, you know. And because we become so individualized and we're like so detached from our community, our religion, our our society generally, we're all atomized individuals. Then you don't have like the ability to. Maybe other people aren't like me, where they can just say whatever they want, and so. But when they don't have any support network, they just sort of feel ground down, like they've got to say what is necessary to say in order to make their life as easy as possible. And if we carry on doing that, you know, we'll just sleepwalk into our own destruction, won't we? So.
Yeah, so autism, are you diagnosed or self-diagnosed?
I've got a slight diagnosis of autism. Like, it's nothing crazy. You know, I think it's funny because Sacha Baron Cohen.
Yeah.
His brother, I think it's at Cambridge or Oxford, he's studying into autism. He did a paper about how autism is the extreme male brain. Like, being a man, having special interests and being more interested in things than people, like the extreme version of that you could call autism. You know, but so I think they've just pathologized normal male and female behavior, and they've called it this disorder and that disorder. So I think I'm just a man, really, and I like to put things in certain things, and maybe I could have some better. Maybe I'm a little bit rude sometimes, and I say the wrong thing occasionally, you know, and they're like, autism, you know. But you can call it whatever you like. But I'm just not asked what I say. Basically, I'll say what I want.
That's such a great bit of honesty to put out there, because I think a lot of people are on the spectrum if they're completely honest.
Yeah.
I was interviewed once this time last year, funny enough. One of the first questions to me, I was interviewed by my friend James. He said, "Are you on the spectrum?" And my immediate response was, "Yeah, I probably am."
Yeah.
But there's no problem with that. And my stepson was diagnosed with autism.
Yeah.
You know, when that's announced at school, everyone's in panic stations and they think it's the end of the world. And to me, I sort of think it's a superpower. If you lean into it and not worry about the brand or the tag, if you apply that mindset, because it's slightly different. I would say it could possibly give you the edge. But I do think the ADHDs, the being on the spectrum somewhere, I think they can be superpowers rather than a hindrance.
I mean, you're a bit older than me, but when I was in school, you had to be licking the windows in order to get a diagnosis of, like, you know, you had to wear like a cushion helmet.
Special needs.
Exactly, to get that type of thing. And now it's just, they've pathologized everyday male behavior as autistic and ADHD. Yeah, you know what? You're going to get bored and being sat in a classroom with those office lights above you in like some horrible porter cabin in some state school somewhere while they're trying to teach something that you're not interested in. Whereas in the past, you might have, you know, for hundreds of years, kids might have gone out doing something with their dad, being a joiner or being a craftsman or whatever. And you'd learn maths by measuring things, and you'd learn while being on the job by doing something, running around and, you know, doing physical labor, farming, etc. Whereas that's what men are meant to do, you know. Men naturally drift towards those sort of things. And to put yourself in an artificial environment like school and told to sit down and concentrate, yeah, it's not ADHD. It's called being bored. You know, it's boring. So you know, and then if you don't get on with that, they'll pathologize you and say, "Why aren't you getting on with this totally fake system?" You know.
Yeah, we could just have very active minds. I was going to say it's not funny because the way that, you know, the woke mind virus has slipped into the education system now, indoctrinating kids from day one that women can perhaps have a penis. Insanity. Yeah. But before it was called special needs, back I think maybe in the 70s, you was considered a remedial.
Yeah, Doug Stanhope, the comedian, he said that he's got a bit about how the old word for retard used to be idiot and moron. So you could be a medical idiot and a medical moron. So whichever name they choose to say, oh, you're disabled or retarded or whatever. Retarded means slow in French. Retard is late or slow. So whichever name you choose to put on it, it doesn't change the fact, which is that you've got some sort of maladaptation, which is causing you grief. So people are always going to use it as an insult like that. It's just how many times you want to change the words around. The thing is the thing.
Same difference.
Yeah. So
let me bring it back to violence again, because I think the way the country's heading, we're going to need to start becoming a little bit more equipped and familiar with violence to defend and protect ourselves and our family, not to go out there and wreak havoc and provoke. But you're a man that uses violence. You're familiar with it. What do you think the importance of violence is and why?
Well, Chairman Mao, he said that the political power grows from the barrel of a gun, and if you look at our state has a monopoly on violence, and if you don't do what the state wants you to do, they will send armed people around to put you in a cage. So, everything's based on violence, whether you like it or not. You have to be able to defend yourself in order to you have to be able to do bad things in order to not do bad things. Otherwise, you're just weak, aren't you? So you're just weak and incapable. So other people are more than prepared to use violence on you. So you have to be able to be prepared to act in kind should the situation arise. It's that simple.
Yeah, and people that know that a storm's coming, but they're soft by nature.
Yeah.
And the thought of conflict petrifies them. What little nugget of advice would and could you give them if they fear conflict and violence, but they deep down they know that they need to learn a little bit of it? What would you say to them?
I'd say go to the closest place that you can that's got live sparring and live resistance, where you can broadly get on with the people there and trust that they know sort of what they're on about. They don't have to be experts. You don't have to be a professional fighter. You don't have to commit yourself to, being like in Rocky, eating like a glass full of eggs and going up the stairs and whatever. That's not necessary. It's like, you teach your kid how to swim so he doesn't drown. Going to a martial arts class once a week is not like a life-changing commitment. It's an hour a week where you learn broadly like how to, the punch is coming. Don't be there, That's like basic safety 101. So, there's plenty of people who work on the doors who don't do martial arts. Like you couldn't be a lifeguard without learning how to swim. So how do you, and plenty of people are prepared to use violence on you. So you need to broadly know how to like not be there when punches are being thrown and stop something happening if something was to happen.
And what about violence being used on you? You were stabbed before, weren't you? What happened there?
Well, it's weird. I've not really told some people about this. I'm not told. But I was actually kidnapped. Weird one. Yeah. So I was helping my friend.
Is it still raw?
No, it's not. You know why? Because in my 20s I've done so much acid, right? That I've bad tripped myself into the point where I've like I couldn't feel terrible anymore. When they were hitting me with knuckle dusters, and they had a gun to my head in the woods, and because I was just focused on how to get out of the situation, I didn't have time to be like, oh, God, this is such a terrible time or whatever. They hit me with the knuckle dusters in the face. I was like, can you stop doing that, please? But that's because I've inoculated myself to the stress I've been knocked out of the gym loads of times. I've been smashed to pieces loads of times. That's what doing martial arts does for you. I'm not saying it's going to make you into. I had no chance of winning, but I managed to talk myself out of the situation without dying to a certain level, and got off from it. So I'm not saying that's perfect. But yeah, my friend in North Manchester, I won't mention any names or anything, but he was having beef with various other people in North Manchester, and we used his van to help my friend move house, and they followed our van. So while my other friend was using the van, they'd like tracked us in this van and then pulled me out looking for my friend to try and kill him, basically. And so they were trying to torture me for information. But luckily, I'm a well-spoken individual, so I can say, listen, no, I just buy weed from him, man. I just don't know what's going on. I go to university and stuff. And so they just stabbed me in my arse, twice in my butt cheek and then twice next to my butthole, actually. So I think I'm the only person that's been stabbed in the anus before. So what a great place to reveal this sort of information. And then, I tried to. I knocked on these people's houses actually in Blakely, and they had loads of Christian stuff on their door, about Jesus, he loves you, and all that type of stuff. I knocked on and said, "Can you phone me an ambulance, please?" They were like, "Go away." I was like, "Okay, fair enough." So I flagged down these people, bleeding out my ass, and then I flagged down these people on the road, and they called an ambulance for me, and they stuck a load of like anticoagulant stuff in my blood, and which is amazing. It's like being on a alien landing craft when you get on one of these things, but. Yeah, it was luckily I didn't get shot. They had like a giant World War II era revolver, and they were holding that to different parts of my head, trying to find out where my friend lived or whatever. But I didn't reveal that sort of information. As it turns out, my friend's dead now anyway, so there you go. It doesn't matter.
And you didn't buckle?
Obviously, I was pleading for my life. Of course I was. But I didn't reveal any more information. I wasn't going to turn it into someone else's sort of problem. I was just thinking about how I can best get out of the situation. And so that's what I did the best way that I could. I couldn't have fought back. There was like 5 or 6 people balaclavaed up. I don't know who one of them is so far. I don't know who the rest of them are. So, and they've all got weapons and I haven't. So I was not prepared for that. So
did you ever get revenge?
Not me, but various other things have happened to those people that are nothing to do with me. So I haven't done anything to them, and I wouldn't know where to start because I only know who one of them is, and I don't know. It's not my world really. No. Actually, while I have a few people that are a bit dodgy as friends, I'm not like involved in that sort of thing. That's not where I've never wanted to be a drug dealer or a gangster or anything like that. So
how did your friend die in the end?
He killed himself.
And was he a good friend?
Yeah, he was a good friend. Yeah, like not the closest friend that I've ever had, but he was a good friend. Yeah. He's only 26.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
And just so you know, you're in good company.
Yeah.
I too have been stabbed multiple times.
Have you?
At the yeah, one sitting 8 times.
Fucking hell.
And also, I cooked my brain with acid when I was very young. Well, actually, it wasn't really me. It was sort of my dad cooking my brain with acid. He would give it to me. So I've had horrendous experiences.
Yeah.
And you done.
You could relate them.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Well, when I saw that look in your eye and said it's still raw, because I could see like you had a slight moment of feeling perturbed. It's like, oh, I recognise that look because I know that feeling.
Yeah.
And I think acid has got a lot to answer for. And I would put this out there because I know it's kind of recycled itself, acid now, and a lot of people
popular again now.
They're going in to take it.
Yeah.
If I can give people one bit of advice, do not go near acid.
I mean, I had a great time in my 20s doing acid and mushrooms and DMT and whatever, and it's all fun and games until you get your ass smacked, you know.
When it goes wrong, it goes really wrong.
Exactly. And you know what? I think there might be a time and a place where there's a perfectly comfortable situation where nothing bad could ever happen, but no one approaches it like that, do they? So, you know, you end up like, losing your mind in public and all kinds of doing all stupid, outrageous things like that.
It comes from nowhere in waves. Like you can just get struck with psychosis out of nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. Or you can see like an ugly thing, and you know, like I remember once I had like a weird bad trip once because I saw a car exhaust, and it was a snowy day, and because everything was so beautiful in this like middle of this snowstorm, this like ugliness like it like stuck in my mind like a splinter and just poisoned the whole thing. So you're putting yourself in a very like emotionally fragile and receptive space. You don't necessarily know how you're going to react. However, I will say that from these bad experiences that I've had on hallucinogens and good ones, I've in a way it let me, because no one can torture you harder than you can torture yourself. You know, so once you've like given yourself the worst nightmare, when other people are doing something to you, it doesn't like affect you in the same way that it might have done if it was a completely new sort of experience to you. So once you get desensitized to stress through traumatic experiences, they've got their own advantage. I'm not saying go out there and get traumatized on purpose, but you know some things, stress can make you or break you, you know.
Yeah, sadly I agree. And sometimes people that have experienced extreme shock and trauma, it's very hard to relate to somebody that hasn't, and you don't want them to experience that, but you know you'll probably get on better with that person once they've experienced some real hardship and devastation. It's like we can now see the sadness in each other.
Yeah.
We can feel each other's mood. The eyes don't lie.
Yeah.
Let's go on to you working the door, because that's my past as well. So I've got a security firm. I've worked the door since. Yeah, I've worked the door since I was 18. I'd like to know what doors you've worked and what kind of a doorman you were, because we know there's all sorts of doormen. The stereotypical flat-nosed bruiser on steroids that bullies people, not quite as tough as he thinks maybe.
Yeah.
Then you get the quiet ones, you get the walkers and the talkers. What kind of a doorman were you?
Well, I used to work like in charity fundraising before I did anything like that. So I was convincing people to do stuff for reasons that weren't very good. And you know, like, cause, well, charity mugging's a scam, isn't it? Really, like, but you know, you don't view it like that when you're young. You should need a job. And so then, as I became a doorman, it was like I was convincing people to not do stuff. You know, so it's similar sort of skills, but in reverse. So the skills from door-to-door sales and charity fundraising ended up going quite well into being a doorman, I think. But I used to have nothing but beef with doormen all the time because I used to be in a metal band and go out and go to clubs around the UK and whatever. And I naturally, because of the type of music that it is, you'd end up getting in loads of fights with people in because you're flailing your arms everywhere and running into people, and fights just naturally start. It's aggressive music, you know. And I'd end up getting in fights with doormen all the time. And then, so I had like a vendetta against every doorman ever. I fucking thought they were all just control freaks and whatever. And then I ended up becoming a doorman, weirdly, so I don't know. But yeah, what kind of doorman? I've worked in Manchester mostly. I've worked on Deansgate Locks. I've worked in Wilmslow. I've worked, which is surprisingly violent in Wilmslow, weirdly, even though you wouldn't think so.
Is that because there's just nothing else better to do?
No, Wilmslow is a weird one because no one that's on a night out there is the hard people that are there. They're not from there. It's from people that are drug dealers that want to go out and have like a posh night out in Cheshire and Alderley Edge and Wilmslow, and they want to fucking act like they've got loads of money and all the rest of it. So you end up with teams of different lads coming to a neutral sort of ground, right, with no connection to the area. So they're not bothered about, like, let's say if you were kicking off in your hometown every weekend, the people that would see you, you'd eventually be on pub watch, and then, it'd make your life hard for you because you're starting, drama around where you live all the time. But if you're coming with a group of lads to somewhere neutral, and the other people are coming to somewhere neutral with their own group of lads, you end up with these like mass brawls, really, of like posh rugby players versus drug dealers versus, that sort of thing. So Wilmslow was a surprisingly violent sort of place, even though you wouldn't think it would be.
Any situations that made you think, fuck?
I've been in a load of mass brawls before, but to be honest with you,
you're comfy in them.
I just enjoy it. I like when people argue with me and people fight with me. I don't view it as like, it's not a bravery thing. I just happen to enjoy it. It's like I don't know why that is. I should probably feel scared or whatever. But like when you're used to it, you just view it as like a normal eating, sleeping, going to bed, having a shit and having a fight sort of thing. It's just like a natural, just like a dog wouldn't think twice about just ripping up another dog because it's just what they do. It's just like a normal part of being a human, I think. So,
were you hands-on or did you diffuse things with your words? Because you're good at both.
Every doorman has been pushed to his limit to a certain level, and most of the stuff that people do that's bad, unless you've got like a drug problem, it happens when you first start. And you don't know how to take people giving you shit. But then after a while, the amount of people that have told me they're going to shoot me and they're going to stab me and they're coming back with all their friends and they're going to do this, whatever. After you've heard that for the 500th time, it stops like really bothering you in that way. So then you're just able to say, listen, just go on me. I'm not asked. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That is. Yeah, when I think of all my sort of wildest reactions to a situation, it was definitely in the earlier years. I thought that was because I was getting old and I thought, I could do without this.
Yeah.
But it's probably because you just learn to manage situations better when the threats become just noise.
The other situation would be like I used to work the doors and I'd work 3 or 4 nights a week or 3 nights a week maybe. And then I'd get by doing this and that, But a lot of people work security through the daytime and then they go and work the doors on the weekend as well. And a lot of people they work so much they're having like kips at lunchtime. And they're, so by the time they've actually got to Friday, Saturday, they're really tired. They've had it up to here, and the tiniest little thing will set them off, and they've not had the time to like sleep properly or get out of the system. So you end up with people losing their minds because people work night shifts consistently for that long. And obviously, the more tired you are, the less tolerance for bullshit you've got. So. I had that advantage as well. I wasn't like working in Tesco. I was dealing with shoplifters all day, every day.
Yeah.
I just worked the doors for a bit of fun on the weekend. And you know what? I worked it mainly because I love it. I just like working on night, like as a doorman. I just like it because it's the only job you can sort of be a man left in this world. Where you can like you walk up, you're pretty much working with entirely men, and everyone shakes you around. Everybody wants to broadly shows you a degree of respect because otherwise they're not going to be able to. Get into the club in the first place, and so you've got a degree of social status, at least within your town anyway. People have to defer to you, and most men don't get that from their job at all. Even on a construction site or in an office or whatever, most men don't get any degree of authority, don't get any degree of respect. They just go to their shit job, go to the gym, go and see the bird, and that's it. Most men have got like maybe 1 or 2 friends and don't even like see the friends. Whereas you're working as a doorman, and suddenly you're friends with the whole town. Or so it's a pretty healthy job for a young man to do.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good environment. It's a good community because you have to you have to build each other up.
Yeah,
because their confidence and ability will affect your own safety. So you have to invest in other people. And this is another thing, sort of within society and culture. I really think that men need to stop. Competition's healthy, but I think more important, we need to start building each other up.
Yeah.
A little compliment here and there goes a long way. You see someone suffering, you all good? Let's have a chat. I think men need to start building each other up because one day we're going to need each other.
Well, you rely on that. If you don't back your mate up, whatever, you're not going to be working there in the future. I've had people there before. You radio them and they'd look at you and then just look over there, pretend like it's not happening. So if you do that, you're not going to last very long on the doors, and so you rely on your friends. You suffer together. You see each other potentially get beaten up occasionally, or go through tribulations or whatever. So you end up becoming bonded together, basically. I'd say.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm talking to somebody that appreciates the whole sort of doorman community, because doormen haven't got the best of reputations.
No.
They hear a few horror stories and just assume that every doorman's a wanker. And some are, obviously, like in every walk of life, but on a whole...
The best people are wankers. The best people are dicks. Like, because they're
give me some context to that.
Donald Trump, he's a dick, but he's awesome, isn't he? Like, they're honest sort of people, and they're prepared to say whatever they need to do. Being a man, you're sort of a bit of a dick. It's not, you can't like kiss everybody's ass all the time, can you?
Yeah, Donald Trump's been described as a spoilt teenager, and then when somebody said that, I think Jordan Peterson agreed and said, well, that's a great thing.
Yeah. Well, all the most entertaining people that you can think of in your life, they're not like kiss asses or whatever. I'm sure they've annoyed people and offended people. If you've not offended people, if you've not made some enemies in your life, like what have you done?
Have you made many enemies?
I've got one enemy. Yeah. I've had people trying to remove me from jobs and get me fired and get me cancelled from my gym and banned from my gym and ringing up my gym saying they're going to burn it down if I don't get banned and all kinds of stuff like that. Weird people like that.
Is that because of the street activism?
Because of this, yeah, recently. But I had a picture with Tommy Robinson when I must have been about 2014 or something, like when he was doing the rallies, with the Panodrama.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And so he was going around Manchester. So we went to his Panodrama one on Salford Quays, and then I had a picture with him on his Salford thing outside Manchester Wrestling Club. Right. And then that picture got around to the people in the metal community, metal and hardcore community, and this internet communist guy that I've got like a super huge beef with he's got me fired from various jobs before he started an internet smear campaign and got me removed from my band and all that type of stuff and got me cancelled. So yeah, I've had that. Yeah, I've had that sort of thing a fair bit.
So the band didn't stand up for you?
The thing is with metal, right, is you think, it's so offensive and like the noise is like ting, 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 it's like
aggressive, isn't it?
It's aggressive music, and if you look at the way people dance, they're spin kicking each other in the head and jumping all over each other and doing all horrendous stuff to each other, and all the songs are like especially in death metal you'll have like Waking the Cadaver's got a song called Chased Through the Woods by a Rapist, or all the horrible details, like the horror genre of music, but then when you deal with the actual people, they're like, oh no, you can't say that. No, actually, you have to have this right opinion. You can't have that sort of opinion. And it's all very left-wing, even though it's supposed to be the most offensive, it's supposed to be the most politically incorrect genre that you could possibly have. And but unfortunately, it actually is completely taken over by weird Antifa lefties. So they dictate the pace for and dictate the tone for what's acceptable in that type of music. So they had to distance themselves from me.
That is so interesting to think that death metal isn't as outrageous and raw as you think. It's actually woke. Woke metal.
The average metal fan is broadly apolitical. You listen to Metallica and all that type of stuff. But within underground, hardcore and metal or whatever, it's supposed to be like anti-establishment. And for some reason, the people think it's anti-establishment to hold all the same views as Pfizer and Microsoft. So that's what it's a 2 + 2 = 5. It doesn't have to make sense.
Quick question before we veer off to something different, and then we're going to go back to the street work.
Sure.
Guns N' Roses or Iron Maiden?
Iron Maiden. Oh, that's a difficult one.
It's a tough one.
Iron Maiden's got a greater back catalogue with more good songs, but the Guns N' Roses have got certain songs which are of a much, much higher quality than all of the stuff. Do you know what I mean? Anthems, exactly. So I'd say broadly Iron Maiden's got a bigger catalogue of songs that I really, really like, but lots of filler as well, whereas Guns N' Roses have got a few, they've not really been very active, have they, past a certain point. So they've got, Welcome to the Jungle and that type of stuff, which just like hits you hard.
And do you know what? I apologise for asking you that question because I wouldn't want to be asked that question.
Yeah.
That's a fucking tough one.
Yeah.
I'd say, do you mind?
Yeah.
I'd rather not be asked that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just tell me briefly, and my audience, because it's fascinating, your background, your mum and your dad, the sides of the family, the different ends of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm. In the comments on various Charlie Veach videos, they talk about, he's from South Africa and whatever. Well, my mum's family are from South Africa, but my granddad on my mum's side was in the Merchant Navy, and he was from Belfast, and during the Second World War, he was a captain in the Merchant Navy and was in charge of taking things from America to Britain, while the Nazis were trying to U-boat, trying to torpedo people in the Atlantic Ocean. And then after the Second World War, he moved to South Africa and became a citizen of the Republic of South Africa, which is obviously a creation of the British and the Dutch together after 2 wars. And then he married an Irish woman in South Africa. So we're all Irish people, really, from South Africa. And then my mum and my other rest of my family, they moved here and worked in London. My mum worked as an au pair for my elder brothers, basically. And so my dad was just quite a well-off guy. And he just slung it up the help, didn't he? That's what he did. He thought, well, here you go. And my mum was just, I'm not asked anyway because I can say what I like because we don't get on very well. But my mum just said, well, I'll just baby trap a millionaire, and that's what she did. So that's fine. But she's totally honest about it, and that's how it was. They were never together or anything like that. So I've got, I lived on council estates. My mum was a prison officer. And so she had a working class job. I was living behind Holloway Prison when it was still there. I've lived in Archway, Kentish Town. I've lived on rough estates in Manchester, but my dad's also from a more well-to-do background. So I've experienced, really, I have experienced both sort of worlds of like the haves and the have-nots. But at the same time, it's a really unique experience, I think. So,
well, that is a unique experience.
Yeah.
To think that you've been part of the yachts and the have-nots is
maybe
quite,
not a yacht, but reasonably well. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Because I'm sure I investigated deep enough to know that your dad wouldn't struggle to find his rent.
Oh right, yeah. No, well, he worked as a banker, and I'm pretty sure he did some other type of job that I won't really go into, but I can't prove it anyway, so it's pointless me talking about it. But he's had a very international background, and he's grown up around the world, and he speaks Arabic and French and German to a reasonable degree, and that sort of thing. So I've grown up around him showing me how to be a certain way, and I've also grown up on council estates getting stabbed off people. So it's a big mix, yeah.
You're a very interesting guy, and you went to boarding school.
Yeah, I've been kicked out of every school that I've ever been to. So I got expelled from boarding school, but I went to school in Hampstead in London, and then I've been to state schools as well, and I've been expelled from them, and then I got expelled from boarding school when I was about 11, 12. But people think of boarding school as like, oh, really, really posh. But a lot of people like are in boarding school because the military will pay, or like if your parents are of a certain rank and stationed abroad, or certain people who've got like reasonably well-off jobs will spend a third of their income, getting their child the right education. And that doesn't mean that they're really, really rich or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? So I wasn't like at the most prestigious boarding school ever. But after I was expelled,
what for?
I threatened to kill my headmaster's wife, because she used to come, like, when in boarding school, you don't realise how some people get on with it all right, but the people that you don't like, you can't get away from, So like, the teacher that you don't like, that you don't get on with, it doesn't like you back. Well, when school's over, he's still there, So I used to cry every day at boarding school. I used to hate it. I mean, the education I received was much better, obviously, than what the state school could provide, and I'm thankful for that. There's definitely different advantages that I got from that. But she used to come to me and say, "Oh yeah, your parents don't love you, and that's why they sent you here, and you don't want it by anyone." Psychological abuse by teachers and stuff. So
it's quite a cruel environment.
There were some great people there as well, but it's the point of you can't go back home and have a space to yourself. So you're in a space as a child, vulnerable to. You've got to live with this with the dormitory full of other guys. So it's different, yeah.
Are you glad you didn't kill her?
Well, I mean, I was only like 11, so I was reasonably committed to doing so when I was there. But yeah, of course, I wouldn't. I don't endorse killing people, of course not. No. But yeah, so after that, I went to a pupil referral unit in Oldham because my sister. My dad wanted to get, my mum wanted to get pregnant at like 39, 40. And she thought, this is the last chance of getting pregnant. So she got pregnant off this guy who was in the BNP, who then got kicked out of the prison service. And he said he had this house in Oldham, so we could live rent-free in Oldham and so we lived there for about a year or so. And then he kicked us out, so we were just stuck up in Oldham, moving up from London. And so that's how we ended up there, basically. But I ended up in a pupil referral unit, which is called a PRU. In Oldham.
What is that exactly?
That's when you get kicked out and when they're going to find another school for you. My mum was just like, no, he's not going to hack it in normal school. Just keep him there. So I ended up getting like 4 GCSEs. You turn up at 10 o'clock in the morning and then finish at 2:30. And he's like, there's Xboxes at break time, and it's just to keep you quiet basically as a problem child. So I was just friends with all the teachers, so it was fine.
And where do you stand politically? What's your political ideology?
That's a complicated one.
With your background, you could have gone any direction, couldn't you? What was the one that pulled you in the most?
Well, I think, like there's an old adage, which is that if you're young and left wing, you don't have a heart, and if you're old and you're not right wing, you don't have a brain. So obviously, when you're younger, you're attracted to ideologies which give you stuff for free and make everything fair because you're in a shit position in the first place and you can't hope to compete with the men that are out there. So you want to like level the playing field, and you put it under the guise of I want equality and love for everyone, but what you really mean is I want what's best for me. I think that's attractive to all young people. But I was fortunate to have my dad, who has got his political views were different then as they are now. But I even had a teacher called Mandy, and she used to come in and she used to tell me about the fluoride in the water when I was on break time and stuff. And she'd tell me about Alex Jones and InfoWars and all kinds of stuff. And she even gave me a 9/11 was an inside job bracelet, which I still maintain, by the way, unlike Charlie Beach. We disagree on 9/11, but yeah, so even when I was like 12, 13, I was a tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist even then, so I'm steeped in it, yeah. But my political ideology, it varies really. I think the political ideology varies depending on the situation that you're in. So I think, like, if you look at the aftermath of World War I, it was a extremely tough time for Germany, and it produced an extreme political solution. And so it's like now we're having a nice chat, but someone comes in waving a knife around, then all of a sudden it's shirts off and we're going into extreme mode. And I think the extreme circumstances breed extreme political ideologies, and how you avoid massive worldwide conflicts and cataclysms is by giving people the normal things, which is like a normal, safe country without crazy levels of immigration, etc. And you stop these problems before they become really, really extreme solutions. Before we decide to go Yugoslavia mode or you break down in the Soviet Union or that type of thing. Before that happens, if you just give people the basic normal country type experience, then we don't have to go there.
And can you see any patterns from past historical events that are sort of rehashing themselves in the UK? What sort of a state do you think the UK is in now? And do you think it's salvageable?
I think it could be salvageable. We could salvage it right now if we chose to. Do I think that's likely to happen? No, because we're not organised enough to make it happen. And just looking at the trends in the past 20th century, there's been extreme violence constantly. Thomas Jefferson, he said, peace is the brief moment in time when everyone stands around reloading. So I think a parallel we could draw is like Yugoslavia. And Yugoslavia had, when Tito was in charge, they were operating as one giant state. And then as soon as it became uncomfortable and the power structure broke down, then it became the Serbians and the Croatians and the Bosnians and the Albanians and the Herzegovinians, and all the different groups decided to split up for their particular individual groups. And you have to accept that's a part of how the human animal evolves. People are prepared to fight over football teams, So if people are prepared to fight over football teams, right, and people are prepared to fight over what kind of Christian you are, whether you're a Protestant or a Catholic, how do you think it's going to go when you've got 20 different ethnicities with, like, what you've got Hindus, which are pagans, versus Sunni Muslims, extreme Wahhabi Salafist Muslims, living next to Ethiopian Christians, next to the Jews, next to, so you've got everybody with all their different ways of being, and force them into a situation. And then as soon as the benefits runs out, what do you expect is going to happen? Everybody goes to what they're used to. Like, have you got children?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so like I use this analogy a lot. So I've got a child, and if someone forced me to say my child lives or your child lives, as much as I don't want anything bad to happen to your child, I'll always choose my own child, because that's just your own self-preservation instinct. You'll choose your family over someone else's family, and you'll choose your community over someone else's community, and you'll choose your town over someone else's town. And on a base level, you choose your race over someone else's race when you're forced to. And so the best thing to do is to accept that people like to live in their own separate ways, in their own, and give them the space in which to do so. And then you're allowed to be friends with each other. But when you force people together, you're going to end up inevitably with interethnic conflict, and that's just demonstrated time and time again. Look at the fall of Iraq. Iraq's got the exact same thing. They forced everybody to live, Sunnis and the Shias and the Druze and the Iranians and the Azeris and the Kurds, all to live in one big fake country. Like Syria's got a big artificial line drawn down it, like with the Sykes-Picot agreement where Britain and France divided the whole Middle East up. And the reason why the Middle East is so mashed up is because they've forced people to either not have a state or people to live within their enemy's state. So you have like the Turkish Armenian genocide, or you have the, because these are all it's basically anytime one gang starts encroaching too far on someone else's gang, you end up with violence. And so the only way that you can have peace is when you have a reasonable amount of space for a group to live in its own way. Then you can decide to be friendly.
Yeah, so if you're going to enter somebody else's space, conform to their rules, and their requests, and in layman's terms.
Exactly, and in the 90s we had loads of immigrants, right? But in a reasonable amount of numbers, and you can partake in their cultural traditions, and you go back to your own. You can still go. Well, most people that I'm walking down the street are English and are like me, but occasionally I can go for a curry, or I can go and do. Interact with these people or interact with those people in this community, and that's a bit of fun. But then when it becomes everyone, when you're walking around in your hometown is now from North Africa or from wherever else, it's like you're deracinated from where you live, and you're removed from your own community, and you wonder why people are losing their minds and having mental health crises. People are meant to live in groups, and we're just demolishing and breaking down all the barriers that would previously kept us together for thousands of years.
Cool, you took me right back to the 90s there, and it made me very nostalgic as well, but it made me think now we're living in lawless society. Nobody respects each other, nobody cares anymore. And no one's really managing their own communities properly. It's each man for himself. Yeah. It's just going in such the wrong direction. And you think it's only a couple of decades ago in the 90s where there was mutual respect.
Yeah.
Communities policed themselves. Yeah. There was a hierarchy on the streets as well. Yeah. You could go to, for example, a traveller's wedding, or you'd get a group of travellers come in the venue, and you'd study the hierarchy, and you'd go to the top man and you'd say, do me a favour, can you please keep your lot in check?
Yeah.
You'd get on well with him, you'd show him respect, you'd get it back in return.
Yeah.
You'd have no problems because there was a hierarchy and there was respect for other people. Now, I don't see that anymore. I don't know what you think about the 90s, but I think the 90s wasn't a bad era at all.
No, we decided to fall down the stairs on purpose, I think. And I'm not saying it's perfect. There was no perfect time in the past. The 50s or the 40s or the 60s or whatever, not perfect times. But we had like a fork in the road, and we chose to go down one road. We're never going back. So we could choose to either make it worse or make it better, So all I'm advocating for is a return to like normality. I'm not saying we have to have like an ethno state for everyone. Everybody has to be locked into. They can only be over here, etc. But you broadly have to let people live in their own ways in their own place. That's just normal. Just like you have your house and I have my house, and we could be friends then because I can go over to your house and I can go home. That's fine. It's totally fine. When I was in Bournemouth with that DJE Media, and there's a language school there for Kuwaitis and Saudis and whatever. And the difference was night and day. You meet these young Saudi kids, and they were like, "Yeah, how's it going? Yeah, we're here on holiday to go and learn English, and then we're going to go home, or whatever." And they were like, "Yeah, it's great, and there's no problem." But when you meet people in Piccadilly Gardens, they're like, "I'm here to rule you, and you have to do what I say, and Islam is going to be the one that dominates the UK and whatever." It's a night and day difference, and it's. I think we're really not getting the best of these places. They're sending out their criminals over here for it to be our problem.
You said fall down the stairs on purpose. Do you think the erosion of the UK has been done by design?
I can't understand what aim it achieves other than if you want to provoke some kind of serious conflict and then have a reason to, problem, reaction, solution it so that there's a massive giant national emergency, and then people respond to it with like, we need law and order, and then the law and order comes in, and it's like this new overarching 1984 type system that we've instead of having it imposed on us, we've like begged for it, so it becomes like a thing that we've done to ourselves. That's a possibility, but I don't know if that's really what it is or not. I mean, it can't be because they need workers, because these people are just not working, are they? We're bringing them over here to sit around and smoke cigarettes outside hotels. Here's
another thing that needs to be addressed, and I don't see it being spoken about enough. So we've got illegal migrants in the UK. No paperwork. We know that. That drum's been beaten 1,000,001 times. We've got people on the outside, rogue tradesmen, for example, tapping up the illegal migrants, knowing that they've got their food and roof all paid for, and then they're paying them cash, half the day rate of what they'd pay somebody else that contributes towards society and pays their tax. I mean, £50 a day for an illegal migrant labourer is colossal amounts of money. And the people that are doing that,
Especially when you send it home.
yeah, they need to check themselves because you're part of the problem. You really are not helping the situation at all. And when you think there's going to be a percentage of those people that are in the country that we don't know about are going to be very, very dangerous. Imagine if something was to happen to your daughter and you're contributing towards the problem because you're using them as cheap labour.
Yeah.
That's got to stop.
Yeah, definitely. These people are, you can tell that we're not bringing over the brightest and the best because when you talk to them, a lot of them gloat about how much money they're going to get.
TikTok it.
That's what I'm saying. If I turned up in someone else's country, I'd be like, shh, don't say anything or they're going to stop all the money. You know, I'd be like, let's act as best as possible so that these people can keep me here for as long as possible and finance my free lifestyle without pissing everybody off. But instead they're like, ha ha ha, yeah, look at all my free shit that I've got. Fuck you, England. You know, that's what these people are like. So we're definitely not getting the best, are we? So.
And the fact that we're so weak is fueling their arrogance. It's like the world's watching and we're a fucking joke. Just taking it back to street level because you used the word organised and it flicked a switch. So you see right and left, protesters, counter-protesters, street level at least, as unwell, and I truly believe that street level leftism, liberalism, is a state of mental health. It's kind of a crisis. Yeah. But what I've observed is they're organised.
Yeah.
Am I right or have I misread that?
No, you're right. They've all got the same signs, haven't they? They've all got the same uniform signs. Most people, it's like, you know, when you go to watch pro wrestling, you'd be like, you know, fuck The Rock or whatever, or Austin 316, you write your own signs out because you passionately believe about whatever it is that you're going to sign. Most people who are interested in protesting might make their own sign, but then to all have the same signs bust in, it's all the same people in the same locations. So, but to the casual observer, it looks like there's a decent left-wing community in every town, but in reality, they're always the loudest minority. So, yeah, they're completely organised for the purpose of disrupting our movement. Really, they're just that's where they have the advantage, is that they're an organised minority and they've got the flexibility to be everywhere and go everywhere. Whereas ordinary people, they've got jobs to do and kids to take care of, etc. These lefties, they don't have kids. You know, they don't have responsibilities. They're all about themselves. They're all individualistic. But you know, so that's why they're free to go and be at every protest around the country. So
yeah, shouting loud to make themselves feel important because really, they're not important. They've got nothing to conserve and they've got no one that looks up to them. I always think to myself, make the right decision, do the right thing because someone somewhere is looking at you for guidance and I just don't feel like those lefties behave in that manner.
Yeah, it's a power play. It's a power play. They get to feel important and feel moral by doing it. You know, people talk about Palestine. I'm sure it's tragic what's happened to various innocent civilians in all over the world who get caught up in all this type of stuff. But you realise that these people, it could be any flag that they care about. It could be any cause that's like, you know, they could substitute in, and it could be anyone else's flag. They're not really bothered about that. They're there to make themselves feel good and to give you shit, basically. That's what they're there for, to make themselves feel good. Let
me bring it back to your street activism stroke security work that you do for Charlie and other people, because I can see that the deeper you get into security in the street movement, I can see you becoming an activist yourself.
Yeah.
And it's going to be very interesting to watch how you progress from here. I'll certainly be keeping an eye on you, and I bet people watching up till now will be following suit. So when you're in Piccadilly Gardens, for example, a couple of things I want to ask. Do you ever feel sorry for the down and outs that you see? And also, what's the most common threat that you look out for?
It's hard to feel sorry for people that on purpose move towards you and try and give you shit. So when you're coming towards me, telling me trying to command me to not do this or trying to attack someone, I don't really have much empathy for you. Then at that point, there's plenty of people that are suffering and they just get on with their suffering, and I empathise with them completely. But most of these people, you know, they could go and do their drugs somewhere else in private and not make it anyone else's problem, but they choose to go out into the busiest place possible and act in an antisocial sort of way. So if you're depressed and on drugs and you're having a terrible time, that's not good. But why do you have to make it everyone else's problem?
Yes, fair answer.
Where's the accountability at that point? You know, everybody knows that it's wrong to do certain things, you know, so you can feel bad and you can be addicted to drugs and you could be a mess, but to go out and start shouting at people and throwing things at us and trying to steal and, you know, just generally behaving like a nuisance in town is like, where does that come from?
Yeah, I suppose at my lowest point in life, I never thought it was okay to throw bottles at people and bricks and stuff like that, and obviously, and start carrying blades and waving them about. Because I've seen all kinds of madness with what you do and what you've got to contend with. That place, like sort of beside the river or beside the stream or whatever it is, where people actually go to meet other men and just randomly sleep with each other. Cottage in Cove or something.
Cottager's Cove, yeah.
Cottager's Cove.
That's the dogging spot, yeah.
That's an actual thing.
Yeah, yeah.
That really happens.
I saw a video the other day of a guy with 4 other gentlemen who was just taking turns to polish them all off, you know. My mate went down there with a GoPro and just sitting having a go at it, you know. That's just what the casual... I was with Dan from DJ Media, and we saw a guy and he had a giant poo smear like across his shirt, you know. I mean, use your imagination as to how that got there. They're never like super in shape gay guys. They're always like horrendous, horrible personal hygiene sort of
taking whatever
fellas.
they can.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think part of it is how horrible it is what turns them on, how ashamed they are of themselves, gives them a kick, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, where are the police in Manchester? How on earth is that being allowed to take place?
They're just not bothered. I've never seen the police down there one time, really. Never seen the police down there. The police do turn up, and I'll say the British police are much better than the German police. If you die or have a serious accident on the street in Britain, an ambulance will at very least turn up for you. Whereas in Frankfurt, I was watching people ODing on the floor, needles sticking out their arms, rocking back and forward, frothing out of the mouth, borderline about to cop it, and the police just drive by and ask you why you're filming. You know?
You've been out in Germany doing security for...
Kurt Kaz, yeah, for Kurt Kaz.
And how did you find that over there? Is it more volatile in Germany or the UK?
We are bad. They're even worse than us. Yeah. The mindset in Britain, you know, because of the Magna Carta and the way our history is we sort of have a sense that every man is broadly allowed to do and say what he wants on some level and not be bothered by someone else. Obviously, there's exceptions to that. In Germany and France and other places like that, in Europe, people think they have the right to like come to you and start telling you what to do, like they're in charge of you. You know, so you could be filming something completely unrelated. Someone come to you from over here, and be like, "No camera, you cannot." Oh no, it's a much more like authoritarian sort of place. It's completely controlled. Frankfurt's completely controlled by the Albanian mafia.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. But they've got streets on there. Like it's weird because you've got Patrick Bateman types that are walking around being like returning videotapes and whatever, you know, in the financial district, and then you've got streets where they just let them smoke crack on purpose. On like, you know, our crackheads, right? They'll go and they'll get in an alcove or under a bridge and like do the drugs somewhere where they can like pass out and whatever. Whereas in Frankfurt, people just do it on the street, walking around smoking crack, like smoking a cigarette.
Again, you've just mentioned American Psycho, so I'm going to ask you another question, sort of off topic.
Okay.
Hip to be Square or Studio? What's your favourite song?
Hip to be Square.
And I apologise for asking you that question because I wouldn't want to be asked that. That's another. Do you mind? That's personal.
No, I love that movie, but yeah, Hip to be Square. I enjoy that song more.
There you go. You've heard it here first.
Yeah.
Fred
Hip to be Square.
Fred is a Huey Lewis and the News fan.
Yeah. That's what I'm like. I'm like Patrick Bateman. I'm like, why don't you get a job and just stamp him out and stab the dog? You know.
What a film
That's coming next to the Charlie Veach channel. Is the we're going to take it up a notch.
From what you see out and about, because you're going to see a hell of a lot more than someone that's just sitting here watching YouTube, enjoying this content. What's coming our way? What should we prepare for? What do you feel in the air
in this country?
Yeah,
I
civil unrest.
I think it'll start in Ireland personally because Ireland's got the history of being bullied a bit by us, and they've got the recent memory of fighting with us, you know, and against the IRA versus the UVF and whatever. So they've got like a recent history about it, and they don't have to feel sorry for themselves, like because the British Empire were history's winners for such a time, and then now, even though we defeated the Nazis, you know, we're supposed to feel guilt for all these things that other nations and empires have just done as standard throughout all of human history, whether it's the Romans or Genghis Khan or whatever. And we've got this like complex where we have to feel bad about being successful and apologize for who we are, and defer to, oh well, we're really sorry that like we're responsible for all the ills of the world, whereas the Irish don't have to feel that way. And similarly, when I went to Liverpool, the Scousers don't have to feel that way either, because the Scousers, while they felt a bit separate from the English and had their own little separate identity, they don't have to apologize for being who they are. So I think the fight back will come from places like Ireland, really, where it'll actually start becoming physical, physical and violent if it's going to. So I hope it doesn't get to that point. I hope we can, through legislation, send all these people home that need to go home, legal and illegal. But I don't think Reform are going to do that.
Why haven't you got faith in Reform?
Well, because they're just getting people in from the old Conservative Party. And it's like with Donald Trump, he could unite the right around everyone's on the same level of being an American, And so people moved there to get away from the English class system. Whereas here, we've got working class and middle class and upper class. And ironically, the working class and the upper class have got more in common with each other than the middle class do. Because all the middle class don't want to appear to be associated with the Tommy Robinsons or anything like that, And so like Nigel Farage and Reform, they have to play the game of trying to appear respectable because they're still stuck in this idea that they've got to appease BBC News and Channel 4 News and like be like, I'm not a racist or whatever. It's like, well, then you're playing their game, you're apologising for whatever. You should just say what you want to say and do what you want to do and people will respect that. But they can't afford to, so they're turning away people that would naturally support them, all the working class people. Like I was at the Tommy rally before he got sent back to prison for airing that documentary, and he said there he was with Carl Benjamin, and he said, "Who here voted Reform?" And the whole crowd was like, "We did, yeah," and that's who Reform want to like turn away from them, in order to have political success. It's just it's a non-starter, really.
I was on that stage when Tommy endorsed Reform. He didn't have to do it. Yeah. There was 100,000 people there. And then at the first opportunity, Nigel slammed, lambasted Tommy. He even
Richard Tice as well.
That was that lot.
Yeah.
I'll never forgive him for that. It's like we are that lot.
Yeah,
the people that are protesting outside the people that are protesting outside Epping that got that hotel closed down where the migrants were raping children. They're that lot.
Well, Tommy's trying to be magnanimous there and saying, well, while there's divisions within what you think and what I think and what your solutions would be or my solutions would be.
Bigger picture.
He's thinking bigger picture. We've got to deal with the threat. Like one of my coaches, Andy DeVent, right? When he's teaching me wrestling and jiu-jitsu, he says, you have to deal with the biggest problem first. So when someone, you can say about your position when someone's on your back and whatever, but if the hands are around your throat, the first thing you deal with is the hands that are around your throat. So you can argue about ideology until the cows come home later on after we've made our country broadly safe and restored law and order. And they're too busy doing a purity spiral as like they don't want to be associated with someone who's got a fucking working class accent. And it's just like, how are we going to get anywhere doing that?
No, it's we need to pull together. National pride needs to be restored. I say this all the time, and I don't think politics is the answer. I think community and culture is the answer. Well, if we work on that, maybe the politicians will listen.
Jonathan Bowden, he said that the only true socialism is patriotism because it binds people together in spite of their difference, So we can all feel, well, in spite of our economic circumstances and our little cultural, like, oh, I dress this way, you dress that way, I say, I pronounce my T's, I don't pronounce my T's. We can all be bound together because of our common ethnicity and shared history, and that's not right wing or left wing. That's like my family. We need to put our family first. We need to do what's right for our family first, and then we can do right by other people.
And it's when you talk like that, it seems so self-explanatory and simple. Work on your relationships, then work on your family, then work on your community, and just watch it have a ripple effect, and everything will be cream cheese. But far too much conflict and division out there. Before I ask you my final question, I'll tell you what, the one before the final question, will you come back this time next year for a part 2 and we can document your progress from here till then?
Of course.
Perfect. Now, before I ask the final question,
okay,
where can people find you?
Fred _CPO on X/Twitter, Fred _CPO on Instagram. I will be doing a YouTube channel and I will be doing a TikTok. I've got some friends to help me do that sort of thing because I have to learn about how to make videos and edit videos, and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I know about slapping people. That's what I know about. So slapping people and arguing with people.
And you slap them well, sir.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And you kick them in the liver well, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. So that's where you can find me. In the future, it will be some derivative of Fred CPO unless we decide to change it in the future, but you'll hear all about it. I'll still be on the Charlie Veach channel, DJ Media. I'll still be on Kurt Kaz. I'm available to work with other YouTubers as well if you need protection. Kurt Kaz has been all over the world to Pakistan and to the Middle East and South America, and he didn't need anyone to come with him until he went to Western Europe. That's shocking.
That is shocking.
Because we've got the most antisocial people there. If you go to people, if we go to the Middle East and you pull a camera out, people are like, hello, How's it going? Hey, look, I'm on TV, Mom. You know, that's people like normal people like to smile and wave or move away from the camera. We've got a lot of people who feel entitled enough to come and interfere in your business, steal your stuff, and attack you for saying something or doing something they don't like on the street. So
that reminded me of Willy Wonka when the little kid gets shrunk and he's in the TV and he says, "Look, Mum, I'm in the TV."
Yeah.
Here we go. Another question off topic: Willy Wonka or the Never-Ending Story?
Never-Ending Story. Definitely. Atreyu. Falcor. Yeah.
See, we've slipped some stuff in there that's humanised us.
Yeah.
We're not horrible right-wing people.
Yeah.
So the final
I'm a lizard.
Yeah, lizard people.
Yeah.
So the final question is, what is your final message to the masses?
I would say if you're a bit nerdy, into politics, into philosophy, you need to work on your physical attributes and your courage. And if you're a bit of a geezer and you're a bit annoyed about the situation, but you don't know what's going on, you need to educate yourself about your own culture. And that's a revolutionary act, is to look at yourself in a mirror and think learn about who you are and where you come from. You know, don't just be all about having an Audi RS3 on finance and having to go in Turkey to get your teeth done or get a hair transplant or who's playing on football. You know, I don't know. I don't watch football, so I don't even know how to say that properly. But, you know, like, you've got to become a fusion of, you've got to become the cultured thug. You know, you have to, like, put the mind and the fist together, you know, and, you know, use your knowledge and then apply. It's like Bruce Lee said, you know, knowing is not enough. You've got to apply. But then on the same level, if you're just applying and you've got no knowledge, it's useless, isn't it? I think it was Aristotle or some other Greek philosopher. Some dude etched in marble with a beard, and he says the society that separates its warriors from its scholars will have its fighting done by fools and its thinking done by cowards. So you need to become both educated and tough.
I tell you what, that is a phenomenal final message to the masses.
Yeah.
And I was so tempted to interrupt and say we use emotional content. But I didn't. I held back because it was too good an answer. If you enjoyed watching Fred and you like these kind of conversations, you know damn well you're not going to get them on the mainstream media. Please remember to like and subscribe to the channel. It takes 2 seconds and it costs $0. I'm going to put Fred's links in the description so you can go and follow him and his journey. I know I certainly will. Until the next time, you've committed to a part 2. I'll look forward to that.
And a part 3.
And a part 3. We'll just keep going and going and going. There's more films and songs that we haven't covered yet and we will do in the future.
Yeah.
But until then, I'll be following you, and good health.
Top one.
Thank you,
Nice
sir.
one. Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
All right.